kind of what are our thoughts around using authenticators versus MFA versus, the different kinds of ways to authenticate, right? So, my personal view is have them all available if possible without having to buy 16 tools and do that, right? And I think that was one of the things that I did find attractive about this tool is that I think sometimes we build security tools far too much based on what we think people deserve or should have, right? Instead of taking the time and saying, okay, well, what does the business need? And let's focus on the business need. And then how do we apply to that, right? So I think, one of the things that I found attractive about the tool is that it has like those multiple options, right? So you can do MFA, you can do challenge questions, you can do, all that kind of work. And I think what's also interesting is this element of self-service. And I think that's born because you guys were a service company for so long before you became a product company, right? You understand, the kind of pains that individuals go through, when they're trying to deal with legacy tools, right? And I think, kind of this concept of self-service, I think is really important. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about self-service and kind of guided help, but I think that those elements are like super important, I think, in security tools as we're developing them future forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'll probably answer this in two parts. The first part is that when we started looking at the convergence, so then the question came that what is the right convergence? And to your point that, many of the tool vendors in the market, they have so many use cases, okay, which are seldom used. And naturally, the client need to pay for all those additional development or additional, material which is there or capability which is there, even though they are using, not using. What we actually looked at very carefully that what is the common minimum, what is the core of the core for IAM, and that required to be converged. The edge cases can always be built, okay, on the client's demand, okay, that is a separate and we can always add on. But what is the core of the core that need to go into this convergence story? And there we also looked at that what are the things from the market perspective which are converging together. So the password management, the authentication, what you mentioned, this is becoming another big wave in the market where people are looking at to converge the fraud management authentication into the IAM platform. From client perspective, the fraud management cannot be tackled unless until you have a next generation authentication solution. So people are talking about passwordless authentication, which is a new buzzword, and I'm sure that all the attendees have also heard about that. So this password problem had been there since ages, since the time IT system came up into beginning, and it was kind of long pending issue which is now getting addressed. And one of the analysts to whom I was talking, there was very interesting report saying that passwordless authentication is here and there, but not everywhere right now. So which means that people are catching up, but in the next couple of years, okay, you'll find more and more clients, they'll be using this passwordless authentication. And what it means in the passwordless authentication, as we added this capability into our compact identity, we looked at this not from the end user's convenience perspective, but also that it is enhancing the overall cybersecurity risk, overall cybersecurity posture for the organization, rather reducing the risk. So when you do this, your latest technique of bringing the passwordless authentication, so in nutshell, you use the mobile phone or the smartphone as the user ID and your biometric as the password. And then all your credentials are encrypted with very high degree of confidence on your phone. You are not sharing that credential with anyone. And when you do the authentication, it's not a centralized place where all the credentials are stored. So the attack surface itself, like where hackers used to get into and steal all those credentials from a single store, is gone. And it's a decentralized manner when we actually share the credential, where using the blockchain technology, okay, you do the authentication, you validate that this is the right person. This actually enhances the overall security posture to the next level, and simultaneously makes the end user experience so smooth that you don't have to remember the password, don't have to look at what are the different passwords which are there for different systems. Okay, just to use your live ID, not that static, but live ID, where you blink your eyes in front of your phone and it lets you in, more secure, more easy to administer day-to-day tasks. So that's where the market is heading towards, Jamie.